Did you rage click this video because you saw the MC4 Pro again paired with the Quad Cortex Mini, and you're like, why did you not just get the full-size Quad Cortex, you asshole? If that's you, watch this video. Alright, so I'll show you the general setup that I have. So the MC4 Pro is connected via MIDI to the Quad Cortex. Once you go to the website on Morningstar, they have a editor that you can control it through the website, but you can also do it through an iPad or a phone if you wanted to. So I have mine connected with Bluetooth. Once you connect to it, it basically shows you all your banks and your presets. It's a little daunting because there's a lot of options and it's endless customization. But once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. So once the controller loads, it shows all your banks that you've made and your presets. At the moment, I've only made 3 different banks. I basically treat them as pages, and then each of these presets are linked to one of the switches on the MC4 Pro. I've really just set up the essentials, but this thing is endless. I mean, you can do some really intricate MIDI stuff where you can send multiple commands at once, if this and that kind of stuff, and you can set it up for triggering some things that take multiple presses on the controller itself or on the Quad Cortex itself. So right now I've set it up to where there's 3 different pages essentially, and then each of these pages will trigger loading different presets for each of the buttons. So this first one, I have it listed as blank just because then on the front of the MC4 Pro, it just doesn't show anything in the center. You can add whatever you want, but for something like tools, it ends up saying the word tools in the center of the page. Again, you can write whatever you want. So my home page essentially gives me tap, paging switch, tools button, and then songs. So the tap is pretty obvious. This just triggers the MIDI clock. It's kind of hard to see, but on the MC4 Pro, it'll show in the bottom right corner the BPM, which is great. So you can see that constantly, even when the Quad Cortex isn't showing anything, or if you happen to have the tap tempo not set to blink on the D preset that I have right there. The page one I have set as a dual switch, so if I push it once, it just switches between 1 and 2, and that's if you've used the large Quad Cortex. This is essentially the switching mechanism since I don't have 8 switches. And then if I hold it, it'll switch between stomp mode and scene. So really handy. And then the songs button, this was set up really for a specific reason. I played a show a couple weeks ago where I was using an iPad for some chord chart stuff because it was like 22 songs that we hadn't played many of them, so I cheated and used a guide here. But when you push this, it will load the previous and next button, and I had it set where I could press that and it would obviously change the preset on the Quad Cortex Mini, so back and forth. But I had it set where it was also sending a MIDI command to my iPad wirelessly to switch to the next song chart as well. So super awesome because I essentially could just hit next and then the iPad would switch to the next song and then it would switch to the preset on the Quad Cortex Mini. This back button just takes me back to my home page or my bank one. So in tools, I set it up to where I can toggle gig view on and off. You can do that now in the new firmware, which is great because before you used to have to swipe physically on the screen, but this is just great because I can switch it on and off without bending down or hitting multiple switches. The scenes button, I just have set to toggle between stomp mode and scene. You can see it on the top right corner of the Quad Cortex. So I'll give you an example of how I built one of these. The page one on my home page, go to the page option. The reason that it says /E is Morningstar has made this little icon library super great. You can pick, whatever symbol you want, and if you type that specific icon code, it'll change that to show whatever icon it is. You can put it whatever order you want and change the color of things. It's a couple commands, so message 1, message 2, message 3. The first message tells the Quad Cortex just to switch the pages back and forth. So if you haven't used this before, Morningstar has this ever-growing MIDI dictionary, which is great. So when you open it, you can select literally almost any pedal in existence, and it has all of the MIDI commands pre-programmed, which is great. So you can mark as a favorite, so you don't have to keep picking each time. But when you go and select it, it then shows you a list of all of the commands that specific pedal can do, and then you don't have to remember the CC value number, which is awesome, and it gives you a description of what it is. So I have a message that when I release the switch, it does the swap, and then there's a second one as well, and the reason for this one is it's just toggling it, so it's basically on and off. And then for the long press, this one's a little more intricate, but I have it where it's one message, so you don't need to go back and forth, but it basically just cycles through a value number that I set that is preset in the controller settings under scroll counters. And this takes a little playing with, because it's going to be different for your setup depending on how many banks you want the controller to be able to trigger. But anything that you set in here, it doesn't really override anything on the Quad Cortex, obviously, so you still could manually change things on the Quad Cortex if you need to. So this thing is endless. I mean, you can program anything that you can dream up. It can be a little overwhelming because it's so detailed, but feels great once you program it and it's set and it works. I have a lot more that I want to build for this, and I've seen some other people online that have made some really cool presets with other Morningstar controllers, so I might try to add some of those in. But if you're thinking about getting this, it is a really great controller. Again, you can use it for other things completely unrelated to the Quad Cortex, obviously, anything that's MIDI controlled. I am going to set it up to where I can trigger some projection mapping that, I hit a foot switch, and right when I hit the foot switch for a solo, let's say, the projection mapping will trigger, an image or a visual that I set up. So check out the Morningstar controllers. I've used a handful of MIDI controllers over the years. Some are more full-featured than this one, like touch screens and crazy stuff like that. But this one hits a sweet spot where it's a killer size. It is really customizable on the screen. The building of the presets takes a little wrapping your mind around, but if it's the first thing you've ever done with MIDI, out of all of the ones that exist, this one is definitely up there among others that make it really simple, and their support is great. I paid for this unit myself, not something that was sent to me or anything like that. I just really enjoy using it. I know that there's going to be the inevitable comment of, why did you go this route and why didn't you just get the full-size Quad Cortex? I actually had the full-size Quad Cortex, used it for a really long time. It was great. There's obviously things on it that I didn't love. I'm a pretty visual person. as I'm sure you can tell with this setup. But on the full-size Quad Cortex, the display obviously doesn't line up perfectly with the switches. I know, first world problems, but it's so much more customizable on this, where I literally can tag each switch whatever I want. I can change the colors to whatever I want. I can have them do multiple things at one time. I also can take this off this board and I can use it on my full-size board and control, whatever else on that. I can do the projection mapping control. I can control my DAW. There's so many things that this being modular just lets me do. So more choices, more customization. If you love visuals and customizing, this is definitely one to look at. If you have questions on why I went this route, or if there's a specific setup that you want me to go more in depth on, let me know. Throw it in the comments. And thanks for watching. I appreciate it.